secret. Deep beneath the waves, where sunlight surrenders to eternal twilight, lie secrets man was never meant to find. Today, we're rediving into one of history's most chilling maritime mysteries. The legend of the sunken fortress and the gold that devours the souls of those who seek it. Our story begins not with a map, but with a whisperer tale passed down through generations, of sailors and fishermen along the treacherous coasts of the North Atlantic. They speak of a place the old sea charts don't show, a submerged structure they call the Abyss Fortress. It's said to be the final resting place of a massive treasure, not from a single shipwreck, but from a fleet that vanished without a trace in the late 17th century. This wasn't just any fleet, it was the legendary Golden Armada of a reclusive monarch, King Theron IV. Theron was obsessed with alchemy and the occult, and his treasure was said to be more than just gold and jewels. It was rumored to contain artifacts imbued with strange, dark energies Timons he believed would grant him power over life and death. In 1698, fearing invasion, Theron ordered his entire treasury loaded onto his strongest warships. His plan was to hide it in a secret sea fortress he had constructed far from any known shipping lane. But a storm of unnatural ferocity descended upon the fleet. Not a single ship, sailor, or gold coin was ever seen again. The king's obsession, it seemed, had been swallowed by the sea. For centuries, the story was dismissed as a fairy tale. That is, until 1978. A deep-sea research vessel, the Odyssey, was mapping the ocean floor when it detected a massive anomalous structure. It was geometric, unnatural, and far too large to be a shipwreck. It was a fortress, just as the legends described, sitting silently in the crushing dark thousands of feet below the surface. The team on the Odyssey was ecstatic. This was the discovery of a lifetime. They deployed a remotely operated vehicle, an ROV, to explore the structure. The first images sent back were breathtaking. Stone walls, impossibly intact, loomed out of the gloom. Arches and towers stood defiant against the immense pressure. And then they saw it. Through a crumbling gateway, the ROV-S lights glinted off an unbelievable sight, a vast chamber filled with mountains of gold coins, chests overflowing with gems, and golden statues that seemed to stare back with hollow eyes. But the crew's joy quickly turned to unease. Strange things began to happen. The ROV's camera feed would flicker, and for a split second, the crew thought they saw movement in the treasure chamber, swift, dark shapes flitting just at the edge of the light. Audio sensors picked up a low guttural hum that had no identifiable source. The team chalked it up to equipment malfunction and the immense pressure playing tricks on their sensors. They were wrong. They decided to attempt a retrieval. A specialized robotic arm was guided towards a small, jewel-encrusted chest. As the claw closed around it, the entire chamber was plunged into darkness. The ROV's lights, power, everything went dead. The video feed cut out, replaced by static, but the audio feed remained live for another 10 terrifying seconds. Over there comes the horrified crew of the Odyssey, heard not the hum of machinery, but a chorus of what sounded like enraged, hissing whispers, followed by a sound like grinding stone and a final sharp crack, as if the rov had been snapped in two. Then silence. Shaken, the Odyssey crew marked the location and retreated, their multi-million-dollar rov lost to the abyss. Their report was classified, buried under layers of corporate and governmental red tape. The official story was that the vessel had been lost due to catastrophic equipment failure in a geologically unstable trench. The treasure, the fortress, the whispers, they were all officially denied. But secrets like this have a way of leaking out. Decades passed, but the story of the Odyssey's failed mission circulated in the shadowy world of deep-sea treasure hunters. This brings us to our second act, the ill-fated expedition of the Neptune S Spear in 2012, led by the brash and brilliant treasure hunter Captain Gunnar Volk. The Neptune S Spear crew was a team of seasoned pros equipped with the latest submersible technology. Volk had obtained a fragment of the Odyssey's classified logs and was convinced he could succeed where they had failed. He believed the strange occurrences were simply magnetic anomalies common in deep-sea trenches. When they reached the coordinates, the fortress was waiting. It seemed even more menacing than the original report described. Moss-like sea growth covered the stones like a funeral shroud. Volk himself, along with his top diver, Lena, took the two-person submersible, the Manta, down for the first exploration. Their descent was flawless. As they entered the fortress, their powerful lights cut through the darkness. The treasure was still there, untouched, gleaming seductively. But the atmosphere was heavy, oppressive. Lena later reported a feeling of being watched, a constant prickling sensation on the back of her neck. They navigated the Manta into the main treasure chamber. The gold was piled so high it formed glittering dunes, but scattered amongst the coins were the mangled, twisted remains of the Odyssey's Orov, looking like a toy crushed by an unseen giant. This should have been their final warning. Ignoring Lena's growing anxiety, Volk positioned the submersible's robotic arm to grab a golden idol. The moment the claw made contact, the same thing that happened in 1978 began to unfold. But this time, they were there to witness it firsthand. The submersible's lights didn't just flicker, they dimmed, pulsing as if the power was being drained. The temperature inside the Manta plummeted, and the whispers started. Not through the cums, but all around them, seeming to emanate from the water itself. It was a cacophony of angry, ancient voices. Then they saw them. At the edges of their fading lights, shadows detached themselves from the walls. They were tall and slender, with unnaturally long limbs. They didn't swim. They moved through the water with a horrifying, jerky gait, like puppets on strings. They had no discernible faces, just smooth, dark surfaces that seemed to absorb the light. The crew on the Neptune Spear watched on their monitors in absolute horror as these silent figures began to converge on the Manta. Volk panicked. He retracted the arm and tried to power up the thrusters, but the sub was sluggish, unresponsive. The figures, these Abyss Guardians, surrounded them. They didn't attack the sub with force. Instead, they simply placed their long, spindly hands on the hull. Every point of contact sizzled, and the submersible's power drained at an alarming rate. The lights died completely, plunging Volk and Lena into absolute blackness, miles beneath the surface. On the Neptune's spear above, the crew could only listen. They heard Volk's frantic shouts, Lena's terrified screams, and the incessant, hateful whispering. The last thing they heard before the comms went dead was Lena screaming, "They're not guarding it. The gold is the bait. We're the treasure." For 2 days, the Neptune's spear waited, desperately trying to re-establish contact. On the 3rd day, a single object surfaced. The Manta's emergency beacon, mangled and crushed. Of Gunnar, Volk and Lena, there was no sign. The submersible and its occupants had been claimed by the fortress. The surviving crew returned to shore, broken and traumatized. Their story, when they dared to tell it, was wild and unbelievable. They were mocked, their careers ruined. The official report once again cited equipment failure and pilot error in a dangerous environment. So, what is the truth? Is there a sunken fortress guarded by malevolent entities? Or is this just a modern myth born from the dangers of deep-sea exploration? Let's consider Lena's final chilling words. "The gold is the bait. We're the treasure." This reframes the entire legend. What if King Theron didn't build the fortress to hide his gold? What if he built it as an offering, a gilded cage to appease something ancient and powerful that he had disturbed with his occult rituals? Perhaps the treasure isn't the prize, it's the lure. A honey trap for the greedy and the bold. The real purpose of the fortress is to draw in souls, to feed the Abyss Guardians that reside within its walls. The gold doesn't just devour lives through curses or bad luck. It actively baits a trap from which there is no escape. The devouring is literal. To this day, the Abyss Fortress remains on the seafloor, its location a closely guarded secret among the few who know and fear it. It is a place where greed meets an ancient hunger, a monument to the idea that some treasures are meant to remain lost. The ocean is deep, and it keeps its darkest secrets. Well, to seek the gold of the sunken fortress is to offer yourself as a sacrifice to the abyss. Thanks for watching. If you enjoy diving into the unknown, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss our next exploration into the world's greatest mysteries. Stay curious and stay safe.